What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PHILcast. I'm your host, Joe Blackburn, joined alongside my guest slash co-host today, Andy Arguez. What's up, Andy, man? Welcome to the PHILcast. Glad to have you on. Lots going on, but stay. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Joe, man? What a blessing to be here, bro. I'm so excited to be able to share this moment together and talk about amazing things going on in the world of cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. And for everybody who doesn't know Andy, Andy's a senior ambassador for PHILcoin. As somebody who's very, very involved with the inner workings of PHILcoin as the chief business officer. You know, the senior ambassadors are such a crucial aspect to what PHILcoin is building. And, you know, today we're going to talk quite a bit about a lot of different subjects, but we're going to start off with what Andy's got going on this weekend. Today is Thursday. When we record this, this will probably go live on Friday. That evening in Atlanta, he's an Atlanta resident. He's got the Atlanta Financial Summit he's putting on for free. And it's a really, really great opportunity for people to come absorb, be part of this educational concept that he's offering to people. And this is one of my favorite things about this project and what PHILcoin offers. And that is that there's a heart for helping people. And this philanthropic concept that Jerry Lopez and the rest of the team has put together and really worked on is just emboldened and embodied by everybody who's associated with this. So before I continue rambling on, Andy, why don't you go ahead and just break down what's happening this weekend and what you're doing with the Atlanta Financial Summit and really what the goals are.
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah, so tomorrow we have an event going on here in Atlanta, Georgia, totally free. It's a financial summit. And we are reaching out to our community to be able to provide information and knowledge of what's taking place in the digital currency world, what's coming years to come, the things that are happening. I mean, we just got amazing news today of a federal judge. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, we've been, doing philanthropy work now for over 25 years in over 30 countries and just helping millions of people with the message of hope and taking food and different opportunities, medical supply. And so we've partnered with PHILcoin with the vision to be able to help and give back to so many more people. That's what I love about the project of PHILcoin. Is not just something that's going to help our families and generations, but it's also going to be able to help people who are in need. And so tomorrow, we're going to be having this financial summit totally free, and we're going to have one of the senior ambassadors, Dr. Pena, and his wife with us. So we're excited for that, man.
Yeah, that's exciting. And before we get to the end of this segment, what we'll do is we'll make sure it's going to be on Eventbrite. You just register if you want to come and you want to participate in this. All you got to do is just register, right? And we'll get more into that and how you can participate if you have more questions, of course, towards the end. So what we're going to talk about today on this show, and me and Andy discuss this a little bit in detail, both in our friendship and our professional lives, but also in preparation for this show specifically, is people lack the common understanding of what's really happening in the financial market these days. And obviously that's what you're going to battle with. That's what you're trying to help educate people on within the summit. And, in this show today, we're going to hit some of these key points and maybe some of these questions that you have to ask me so that people can hear from my side. I've been involved in crypto since 2013 is when I first got in. I can't say that I understood it or took it seriously until many years later, back in 2017 is when I really started comprehending what this actually meant. And, I'm somebody who dives right in, and Andy, I'm sure you could probably relate to this, but it took me a long time to take crypto seriously. And I understand when people hesitate or when they're like, I don't know. I mean, there's so much uncertainty because there's so many bad actors and there's so many different horror stories. And this is completely relatable. And it's honestly, I would be ashamed if I didn't not take it seriously at first, because anybody who just jumps right in, you can make some mistakes, and that's happened to many people I know. Now, with that being said, Andy, what are some of the core concepts of the topics that you'll be discussing, and how is it that people will benefit the most, you think, from the Atlanta Financial Summit that you're putting on?
That's so good. Yeah. So initially, what we wanted to do with this event is to provide value over everything in terms of knowledge, information, for the financial sector. How can we help both the less fortunate in our communities provide different passive streams of income? How can we educate our children and the next generation on sovereign wealth and what that means? And as well, preparing for this shift that's taken place, like you just mentioned, in the last 10 years or so, to this digital currency world. Myself, I'm an investor into stocks as a day trader, and as well I hold positions long term. And cryptocurrency was very intriguing to me with different friends that I've had, but I didn't fully understand the blockchain world. I didn't fully understand how it works. And so the more and more, as a believer, I saw in the Bible things that are coming to pass and things that I know are going to continue to come to pass. And as we live out this
Mm.
life we're seeing around the world with chaos, we need sovereign wealth. We need income that's not going to be controlled by any government, by any system. And so that's what intrigued me so much about this opportunity. So tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, we'll be discussing what is sovereign wealth. In other words, how can we have our money be in have a safeguard? How to safeguard our money from the control that is coming. It's here and it's coming. Where in one moment your bank accounts can be wiped out, or if you don't get this vaccine or this chip or whatever it is that they want to demand, your money is not safe. Number two, how can we then as well create passive income, meaning the money's working for us while we're not even working, while we're sleeping. Income is coming for our family and our future generations. So we really want to build generational wealth. And when we're gone, knowing that our kids and our legacy is living on through this sovereign wealth. So that's what this conference is going to be about Friday and Saturday.
Well said. Well said. It reminds me so often that people they forget that that what can come to pass is not some ultra reality video game. Like there's really a concern right now. If you're a Chinese citizen, they have a social credit system that if you do not fit within the mold, or if you're speaking out against the party of some degree, if you're saying something or doing something that the powers that be don't like, you can't buy a car. Maybe you can't travel. These things are actually in place in China right now. Go look it up. Social credit system in China. Just Google search it, YouTube it. This is not some conspiracy theory. And of course, we're in the United States. We're protected by our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. But you could see every single year, every single month, every single week or day, you see these little bits of freedom being taken away. And it starts with the control of money. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, Andy, is I'm going to be mentioning probably in several different answers about smart contracts. And I like to explain and give a foundation of what I say the best way to understand what a smart contract is in an analogy that is similar to something that everybody can relate to. And that is the vending machine analogy. If you are thirsty and you're walking down the street, wherever you're at, and you see a vending machine and you walk up to that vending machine, costs 50 cents, or with inflation, we're talking about maybe $1.25 these days, right? For a can of Coke. You put in your dollar, you match exactly what that tells you, and then you hit the button and boom, out rolls a Coca-Cola. Now, this transaction that just took place was done without a live mediator. It was a machine that brokered the transaction. You made the appropriate amount of payment and it distributed what you paid for. Now, before anybody gets lost on, hey, what if they're out of Coca-Cola? It's an analogy, right? It's the concept of a working vending machine. This is a transaction that just took place without any third party being present. There is a machine in place that took your money and distributed your goods that you just bought. Now, take that analogy, and that's what a smart contract on the blockchain does. The age of the internet, Andy, and I know that you know this as good as anybody, is filled with not just like cross language barriers or cross-border barriers, but cultures and all sorts of different narratives and concepts and goals. And the current financial system just simply is too slow for how fast the internet is working. Yeah. If I had to go and pay somebody for work that I had done for let's just say a website and I was trying to pay them and I had to go to a bank, it could take up to 3 days on the international transfer, sometimes even longer if it's a large amount, right? They might hold you hostage and make sure that the transaction. Now, I'm not saying that that's not done for a reason, but it's not fitting the needs of a lot of people because there is so much business happening on the internet for all sorts of different needs. And what crypto and blockchain allow is this transparency, this smart contract universe to start existing. Now, I don't want to ramble too much about that. Hopefully I made sense and feel free to add on or correct me if you feel like I may have misspoken there. But I feel like that vending machine analogy helps establish just the understanding of what a smart contract is and why it could be important if, banks aren't available. And of course, we can doom and gloom this and talk about, hey, these are the real possibilities. This can happen. Look at China right now, but also on a basic day-to-day level, that's the world's transitioning to this anyways, let alone the ability for us to understand our freedoms and our rights and what is available to enhance these freedoms and these rights that exist.
And it's not about fear mongering, right? It's just the reality. The reality is times are getting worse. It's going to get tougher. And we just went through a COVID situation where something like we never thought could possibly happen, where there would be a complete
Well,
lockdown, a control, or even our Bill of Rights, our constitutional rights were on attack. It was on all out assault. As a Christian, as a believer, our churches were being forced to be shut down, and to the point where people were being forced to, even on their own bodies, whether or not to have a vaccine or not, which is a whole nother argument, right? But the point is that if that happened in 2020, right, what can happen in the future? And there will be another pandemic, and most likely it's going to be either a world war or some kind of financial, right, crisis. I mean, a cyber attack against it. And you imagine a cyber attack right now from one of our foe enemy countries that just shuts down all of the finances in our country? Like, where will we go to? So I feel that the way that you're explaining it is a simple way to understand, no parties involved, no control. And that's what we want. We want sovereignty with our money. We want to know that, the day tomorrow, if there was to happen any war, any country controlling policies, we have income, we can go, or we can survive, we can overcome, we can thrive. And so I think it was really well said how you just, stipulated and explained that. Let me ask, because tomorrow there's going to be people that are going to arrive to this summit. Some of them have a foundation on cryptocurrency. Some of them have none. And I would love to be able to speak to those to get that knowledge. Like, how did cryptocurrency begin? Like, what this thought process behind how it initiated, what's its foundational knowledge for people to understand who are new to this crypto space, so they can understand why this is something so powerful.
Sure. And that's a great question. And one of my favorite things about answering that question is that, regardless of the intent or the purpose, what I preface this part of the conversation with is, it's up to the user to determine not just like what their intent is, but it doesn't have to have a purpose for a specific reason. And as crazy as that might sound, is that it's completely up to you what you use it for.
That's
And I'm
good.
not saying the malicious behavior or being shady. I'm saying it's none of my business what Andy is doing on the blockchain. It's not up to me to have an opinion. I mean, I can have an opinion personally, but it does, whether my opinion exists or whether it's the president's opinion, it does not stop the ability from the blockchain to be able to transact. Now, that comes with its good and its bad. Certainly, just like cash, how much bad behavior has happened with cash money? A lot. All right. I mean, a lot. It's something that beyond what anything crypto has ever done. Before anybody ever comes to me and says, oh, but look at all the things that can I'm sorry. Cash has been the heart and soul of malicious transactions since the beginning of time, right? Since the beginning of cash, should I say. Now, take it back to the blockchain, and what your question is it's not easy to answer, because when Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the white paper, it's not a complicated concept or a complicated read for people to grab and understand. Satoshi wrote it in a way that the common average human could pick up that white paper and recognize the purpose and the intent from Satoshi's perspective, right? I have my opinions on who I think Satoshi is. It's a whole nother, we could fill up a whole podcast with those conspiracy theories. But I truly believe that at the beginning of what Bitcoin wasn't the first cryptocurrency to ever exist. In fact, I think there was a total of 3 or 4 altogether prior to Bitcoin, or including Bitcoin 4, I think. And Bitcoin was the one that happened to catch some traction, and the community that was built around that started, being able to get it out there and get people interested in it. And it started off as free. You just went to a faucet. When I say a faucet, you go to a website. I mean, for years, you could literally just go to a website and collect Bitcoin for free, because they were trying to distribute it and get that momentum going for people to have it and just be able to use it. They say the next big gold rush is not finding some mine that's never been discovered. It's people going to these landfills and searching for old computers that might have Bitcoin on it that they can recover one day. Right? Isn't that crazy? I mean, obviously that's a little bit ambitious at the moment, but think about it. Bitcoin hits $1 million, $5 million, all the Bitcoin that was lost at one point because people didn't take it seriously through the computer way. What is this? Anyways, that's, again, I don't want to ramble here. To kind of finalize my answer to your question is that Satoshi built something that was peer-to-peer, meaning me to Andy, you to whoever you want it to be, that has no intermediary, that needs nothing. No smart contracts didn't even exist back then. This is literally, I have Bitcoin and I want to send it to Andy. There is no permission needed. All I need is an address and I can send it to Andy and it cannot be stopped, nor can anybody interfere with it unless I give them permission to by handing them my private key, my mnemonic phrase, my seed phrase, anything along the lines of giving permission is the only capable way of preventing me from owning and doing what I want to with my crypto. Now, I know that's a vague answer, Andy, but that's the point. Satoshi made it so that you could transact with no intermediary.
No intermediary and with no interruption, just directly, no outside control, no process. It's just directly from one address to another person.
Exactly.
And that's the crypto space, the digital world.
I want to add on one little small thing to that. People don't realize when you send on Venmo or PayPal, which I do all the time, I've got no problem with it. It's convenient. It's easy. I don't need to send crypto. I don't need crypto for everything, right? I mean, I would love a crypto based world, but it's not necessary. I mean, we live in a world that we need US dollar to transact. I'm in the United States, right. But that is handled by a third party. Every time you pay for something, whether it be your Visa card, your MasterCard credit cards, whatever you're using, there is a intermediary there and they can stop that. They can put a hold on it. They can make sure.
There was an instance with PayPal just recently, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
They were trying to prohibit who can be able to send if you were against a certain policy or whatever. Yeah.
And of course, many people don't really appreciate this at times, but in the United States, we still do absorb a tremendous amount of freedom. And you can hate on it, you can say what you want, but I mean, even countries like Canada, which is a civilized nation with laws and rules and regulations, there's been a lot of scrutiny from people who are a little bit distrustful of their intent right now. We don't have that issue yet, and hopefully it stays that way. I mean, it could show up, but moving forward, we have a backup, and that's Bitcoin, that's crypto, that's you name it. If it's on the blockchain, more than likely it fits into that category.
Next question that a lot of people ask us, and I know they're going to bring about tomorrow in this summit, is how safe is our cryptocurrency, our digital wallet, this space? There's been some issues we just saw, in the past year or so in the crypto space that has caused, national worldwide news. So I know some people are saying, okay, I get it. It's digital. You're not going to be under control. But now how do I know that someone can't hack? How do I know that it's safe? How do I know that someone can I wake up one day and it's gone? So what would we speak onto that?
Well said. It's a fantastic question. And the reason why, Andy, it's an important and really, really good question is because there's a basic principle of misunderstanding at times about what holding cryptocurrency means. If I go to exchange like Coinbase, which I frequently use, I highly recommend them as the first entry and exit point for any new person because it's simplified and there's a lot of credibility behind their longevity and what they've done in the United States and in the world for that matter. So if I go to Coinbase and I purchase Ethereum and I just leave it there, or if I purchase Bitcoin, whatever cryptocurrency I purchase on Coinbase, but I don't move it, I don't do anything with it, I may own it technically, but I do not actually own it as in it's in my control because it's in Coinbase's control. To actually have full custody of your crypto, you need to have a Web3 wallet, a digital wallet that is compatible with the token for, in this case, a Web3 wallet for Ethereum. I'm a big Ethereum supporter, big Bitcoin supporter, big, these power coins, they all have different blockchains. So you need to make sure it's compatible with the coin you're utilizing. In this case,
explain to the layperson, cryptocurrency wise, what we're talking about here. We're talking about a site, a platform, Coinbase, where you could buy a certain, coin, right? But you don't technically own it until it's, transferred over to what you're talking about. And there's a blockchain. Explain that. Exactly.
So, and I also want to make one more statement too, is that to rationalize an analogy from Coinbase, Coinbase is like a bank. Coinbase is like a crypto bank. You go to a bank, you deposit your money. They may or may not have, like over time, you may have deposited $100,000 of your hard-earned US dollar into this bank, but they may not have that on hand, right? Like they don't have everybody's money on hand. They move it for many different reasons. That's another topic. But same thing with Coinbase. Although Coinbase is technically going to have all the crypto on hand, that's not the issue here. Other exchanges don't necessarily. And utilizing something like a centralized exchange is the basis to the misunderstanding. Now, a decentralized wallet, a Bitcoin wallet, a
Right.
Web3 EVM Ethereum wallet, or something along the lines of these non-centralized wallets, you
Correct.
will have a private key and you will have a seed phrase that you are presented with when you create that wallet.
Right.
These are your keys. If you lose them, you will never access this wallet again. This
So
is the what I consider the positive side, but many people who have never had that responsibility of managing their own money and not having a backup plan, because look, I'm going to tell you, it's not easy to create a wallet, store. It's one thing to put $100 on a wallet. It's another thing to put $1 million on a wallet, right? What do you do with that private key? How do I keep that secure? There are options for that. We'll get into that another day. But that is the only way to truly have control of your funds, that nobody can access it, is moving it from a centralized exchange like Coinbase, Binance, these important ones that people utilize all the time to trade with. These are great assets, but they are not the way to hold your crypto. And I hope I'm not being too complicated here. And I know that there's a lot of, maybe for some newer folks, these words
there's
might
questions. There will
be a
be
little
questions.
intimidating, but it's not. And it's very simple. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff to help out as well.
Yeah, this private key, all right, that protects. As people are listening, those that are already advanced understand this, but those that are not, it's there's certain words that are given that you have to keep safe. Some recommend keeping it, in a safe and kind of printed on some kind of steel material, right? But the important thing is that is what protects your cryptocurrency from being hacked and stolen or whatnot. What about the person that thinks is there technology nowadays where people could actually discover the way to creep in? Is there a loop, or has that all been shut down through the blockchain keys?
Custody and the security aspect of holding crypto is a ever-changing game. Criminals are criminals. They find ways to take advantage of people who are either being complacent or naive or ignorant to the process. And this is one of the biggest deterrents. And I understand it from people, is that if you're new, you don't know what you don't know. You don't
Right.
realize how at risk you can be. And so people do tend to make silly mistakes, or they tend to be complacent because they're so used to dealing with their bank password. Your crypto custody concept is irreplaceably not able to be hacked in any form unless you're giving somebody permission. And how does that happen? You either click on a link and get phished. Coinbase sends you an email. You don't realize it's not Coinbase. It's a fake Coinbase account trying to trick you. You click on it to reset your password. And next thing you know, they're logged into your Coinbase. All right. Coinbase obviously is a centralized entity here, but this can happen with your Web3 wallet too. MetaMask sends you an email. MetaMask is a type of wallet that you can use
Right.
that is decentralized and self-custodial. You
Right.
can click on this update. Hey, update your wallet. Next thing you do, you click on it, you give it permission. And before you know it, you've been drained through this phishing attack. This only happens because you clicked on the link. So the only way that you're going to lose or be subjected to this is if someone has access to it because you gave it to them, or if you accidentally clicked on something, or you put yourself out there and you've opened yourself up to being hacked by not being exceptionally careful. This is literally all preventable by just following basic steps that you know already. It's not something you have to teach somebody to not click on a link. Just don't do it. Just be
Right.
skeptical of every single thing that comes through your inbox. Look at who sent it, where it's coming from. Is it spelled correctly? Are there underscores? Are there dots where they shouldn't be? It's just like if a friend sends you a Facebook or an Instagram or a Twitter, you're already friends with them and they send you a friend request. I'm going to be skeptical because they deleted their old Facebook. Oh, hey, I'm stranded at the airport and I lost my wallet. I need you to send some money. Okay, I'll send it to you. This to this day, people still get scammed that way.
Right.
This is the concept. You have to be skeptical. It's your money, and do not play games with your security. Do not. So hopefully I made that point very clear. I know
That's
it's
great.
still a little complicated though.
That's great. No, but the more we talk about it, the more clarity is going to come. That's what we're referring to as sovereign wealth, right? It's something that is out of the control of these, third parties or
Yes.
governments, etc. It's in your hands to steward that, right? And so that's what we want. We want to be able to have a diversity. The Bible talks about diversifying in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says to cast your bread. You don't know which one is going to come back later. Cast in 7, cast in 8. Warren Buffett talks about not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I think being able to diversify our portfolio, not just depending on our 9 to 5 or our business, but having, certain investments into stock, having certain investments into cryptocurrency, having, gold or silver, different things is a smart thing to do, especially in these times that we're living in, right? So give an example, someone right now who's saying, okay, I'm on the fence. I like what I'm hearing. I feel credibility from what you're sharing in terms of that. I want to take the step, but I want to know where we're at right now. Is this a good moment? For example, you started in 2013, right?
November 2013.
Amazing. I don't know if you can give an example of what you started with, because maybe that will.
I will.
Say you put this much, you're worth this much right now. Imagine where we're at, in a bearish market. We're going to talk about it right now, and the significance that this can have just within the next year or two.
Well said. Yeah. Look, when I first bought Bitcoin, it was because Bitcoin had run up to $1,000 for the very first time. It was the first time Bitcoin had ever gotten to $1,000. My friend called me. He was like, "Joe, you've got to get in this. You would love it." I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Boom. There was very little. There was not resources on the internet like there is now. There was just a few websites and a few communities that you could go to, like on like Bitcoin Talk and stuff. In 2013, Bitcoin going to $1,000 was unheard of. It was so impossible for that to have happened to so many people who were even holding Bitcoin. A day where Bitcoin was $1,000. Well, here comes Joe Blackburn. Oh, $1,000. It's going to go to $10,000. And guess what? By February 2014, Bitcoin had fallen all the way down to $180. I was a newlywed for the most part. We've been married for a little over a year and a half or so, but $1,000 was our entire savings account. And I used $1,000, pretty much everything we had in savings, to purchase this, because I thought I was going to make us rich. $10,000 would have made me rich in my mind at that point, right?
Wow.
So fortunately, instead of my wife going ballistic on me, and although she was not happy, she was considerate, and I was like, look, I know it's gone down, but look, I really started to dive in a little bit and started to understand, hey, this might go back up. I mean, it went up already. So I'd buy a little bit, $50 here, $50 there. Well, $50 at $180. I mean, that's just under a third of a Bitcoin, right? I mean, think about that today, right? I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, golly, how crazy am I that I did not take it more seriously? I should have put everything in, but wow. I could say that right now to people, right? Sure. Because the purpose in the concept of how Bitcoin goes up is twofold. It's awareness, people being aware, and it's the finite and deflationary concept that exists within the Bitcoin white paper that Satoshi wrote about, that is certain. There are no discrepancies in the Bitcoin minting process. When new Bitcoin are created through this minting process that we know as mining, right? Mining is simply, to make it a very simple analogy, there's a math problem right now on the Bitcoin blockchain. Miners rush to solve it. The computer that solves it the fastest is rewarded with that Bitcoin prize. Back then, we're talking about hundreds of Bitcoin being created every 10 minutes. Now, in this next halving, I think we're going to be down to under 4, right around 4, right? Per 10 minutes. Think about that. Think about how much less pressure, sell pressure, is happening now with Bitcoin than there used to be, and how much more awareness. And remember, there's only 21 million of them that can ever exist. Of that, 18.5 million or so, maybe just under 18.5 million, have already been minted. There's only 2.5, 3 million left to be able to be minted. The rest are already out there. And as is projected, about 4 million Bitcoin have been lost for forever, in theory.
Wow.
Right? So you're talking about a supply that's already got a set date, right? 2140, around the year 2140, the last Bitcoin will be minted. And that's 120 years from now almost, right? Wow. So this process is going to continue for this last 2.5 million for the next 120 years.
That's so good.
And every
perspective, what's coming in the next 120 years.
Exactly right. And remember, every 4 years, this halving, quote unquote, halving cycle is what creates the bull run. And I know that this is a little bit drawn out itself, but it's all important context. Because we saw in 2020 the COVID boom, for both the financial market, the traditional financial markets, and the crypto market. Bitcoin went all the way up to $69,000, $67,000 in between there, depending on what chart you're looking at.
Multi-millionaires.
Absolutely. And then we saw the market go from up, oh, and
So,
boom, and now we're down here. And today, I think we're sitting at
and
30,
that's where
31.
people get afraid. They get
Absolutely.
afraid that they're going to lose it all without understanding that it's in these moments where really people become wealthy, understanding what is known as these bearish markets. But I don't want to take away from what you're saying because you're speaking some very, very good. So you started with $1,000,
Yep.
and nowadays, what was worth 1,000, right now we're at 30. I think we're at 31,000 right
Yeah.
now.
31 ish. Yep. Yep.
31-ish. I mean, people can
Yep.
do the math.
Exactly right. Now, and that's not to say that I've left everything in or I've made the best decisions. I've had I made only good decisions, I'd be probably a billionaire right now, right? I've made plenty of bad decisions and I've learned the hard way, just like many people are still going to do, people are doing right now. But this is what I will say is the next halving cycle, the next time that Bitcoin halves, which is coming up in less than a year, or in, roundabout, it's not done by years, it's done by blocks, and blocks happen roughly around every 10 minutes. Sometimes they're 20 minutes, sometimes they're 8 minutes, sometimes, because that fluctuates so much, we can only assume through the generic variation of what's the average here, right? So around about 10 minutes per block. Next year in May, we're going to see the next halving. That's when the Bitcoin supply is going to be cut down to under 4. All right. I think we're at 6 right now. We'll be at 3.5. We're right over 6. I think next halving will be at like 3.5 or so. And I need to go back and verify that. So make sure everybody, before you go make any decisions, I'm not a financial advisor. I do not give financial advice, never will, but I do give sovereign Bitcoin. Why do I love it advice? Why does Joe love it? Right. And so everybody should be making their own decisions as noted. But nevertheless, when this next cycle comes up, typically in the mini cycles, I think this will be the 5th cycle Bitcoin's gone through. You see this up that we saw 2020 happened in 2017. We went up, we came back down. 2.5 years of kind of whittling down, and some bumps up, some bumps down. And I don't think we're quite to the end of the bear market. I mean, we're seeing some success today. Hopefully that continues. But I'm always skeptical of any bullish move because it could always come back down, just like everybody else should be. But this next bull run, when Bitcoin supply halves, it breathes confidence into people knowing that there is this cycle that's taking place, this bullish cycle. And traditionally, through the historical charts, you can see Bitcoin doesn't just go up, it goes up a lot, and it brings everything else up with it when it happens. I say everything else generically. Not every project survives. Not every project's a great project. Just like not every startup in Silicon Valley is going to work out, right? People are going to go to Silicon Valley. They're going to say, hey, investors, look at my project. It's awesome. They convince somebody to give it to them, and they might fail. Doesn't mean that they were a scam. It doesn't mean that they didn't try. It just means it didn't work, right? Now, obviously, in crypto, it's much easier to scam people. So be aware, folks. I'm just saying that just to be careful. But Bitcoin, in its sole proprietary, it in itself, it is built to be deflationary. And mathematically speaking, it shows us that the more awareness, the more people that take it on, the more people that are taking it seriously, and the credibility that it comes with it, it goes up mathematically.
Yeah.
Small supply, just a little bit left, right? And more people are getting in. And I can make that assumption because I see BlackRock, right? This huge financial aspect of a staple of world economic, not just history, but current economic, events happen around what BlackRock decides. I mean, companies are made or broken on a minute-to-minute basis sometimes based on their decisions and who they interact with and who they decide to do business with. And this entity is now taking Bitcoin seriously.
So good, Joe. Man, this is so valuable for our communities to hear this, and to understand. Speak really quickly on why this, why it's so important right now, this moment that we're in. We're in a bearish market. Explain bearish, explain bullish, and why this is the best time right now to get into this space.
Yeah, I remember hearing the first time I got into trading at all, and I hear bears and bulls, and I'm like, what do animals have to do with this? And so for anybody who's never been part of traditional markets, this is not a crypto saying, this is a traditional market saying. A bear market would be a market that is in itself is going downwards. A bullish market, bullish is a strong market, a market that is growing, it's expanding, it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger. And to your question about, why this is an important time period is that, look, to me personally, I don't tell people when to buy Bitcoin, but I will say this. I bought at the height of the 2013 run. And for years, I regretted that until I realized not only did I buy, I mean, I still to this moment, I always say I bought Bitcoin at the highest high in 2013, but I also bought Bitcoin at its lowest low in 2014, in 2015, 2016. I was buying Bitcoin so cheap, but at the time, in my mind, I could not see that I was doing anything other than playing catch up. I was down. I had not made money yet. I was losing money. In fact, I had lost money and scared to tell my wife, these kind of things people can relate to. But by the time 2016 and 2017 happened, every one of those purchases, including that $1,000 purchase, was not just a discount. It was a humongous discount when you think about Bitcoin going to $19,000 in December 2017. And I'm sitting here complaining that I bought it in 2013. It took me years to get out of that mindset. And so from that moment on, I've always said, I don't care what the price of Bitcoin it is, because it's going to be different in 10 years from now. It's going to be different in 20 years from now. And if it continues on this trajectory, nobody knows what's going to happen. And anybody who says this is a guaranteed for sure thing, I don't care how passionate or how much they know or their knowledge level or how long they went to school, there is no sure thing at all when it comes to financial markets, period. But based on history, based on what I know about Bitcoin, the bear market provides a cheaper alternative to buying than when everybody starts feeling safe. And this is so hard. I know it's hard to understand.
Yeah, nothing is for sure. We're not here, trying to, this is the one way or the only way, but we're trying to be smart and make calculated investments, calculated risk investments. And,
yes,
like right now, there are projects that are, pennies. I mean, just literally. And
absolutely.
we
PHILNation being one of them.
PHILNation is one of them. And that's what I wanted to get to. Why PHILNation? I mean, for me, what I loved about PHILNation, I love the vision that Jerry has, that, in terms of giving back and being able to, from what we get, there's always going to be giving back to communities, to philanthropy work. I have a passion to help people around the world. And at the same time, it's a sovereign wealth. It checks that, bucket list for me, sovereign wealth. It's passive income. That's a checkbox. I'm thinking of my kids. I'm thinking about their futures. I'm thinking about my grandchildren, thinking about helping millions of people. So this checks all these boxes. But as well, PHILNation is at such a great price right now in this bearish market. As you mentioned, as Bitcoin goes up, it's going to draw, great projects like this that have the potential. So why PHILNation for you, Joe? Explain.
Sure.
We're ambassadors of PHILNation. Tomorrow, we're going to be sharing with friends here in Atlanta this opportunity in this climate that we're in. Why is PHILNation is a great place for us to pay attention to?
Absolutely. This conversation, this question that you just asked me is exciting to answer, but it's also almost impossible to answer because of my position with PHILNation. And I want to be very clear. Everybody, I literally get a paycheck from PHILNation. I do a job and I'm excited about that. I'm proud to be here. I had other options. I've worked on over 30 different startup blockchain projects, 2 of which have done really, really well. I'll leave those. Not trying to necessarily get into that and flexing on anybody. Right. But, in my time in crypto, especially my professional time, not just buying Bitcoin for the first time in 2013, I'm talking about actually starting to take this space seriously and starting finding, a way to contribute, and then eventually becoming somebody that has an opinion and has consulting opportunities to provide value to these companies through my experience. I look at a bunch of core different principles. Number 1, leadership. Is the leadership there? Number 2, the business model. Is there a business model that will make will there be value long term? Of course, some of this stuff is anticipatory, right? Like I'm anticipating based off of what I've heard from Jerry. Like we're still in the infrastructure setting. Like we're building the infrastructure for the business model. And I think that there's a community out there that's going to be very excited to see some of the major updates that Jerry's coming out with.
Yes.
Right. Very, very. And I can't share everything right now, unfortunately. And I know people get so sick of hearing that, but there is a marketing plan behind this too. That is it's not my place to go and start blabbermouthing all this exciting news and all these exciting things that are coming on. But as somebody who has been part of so many different avenues of companies either making it or not making it, I've been part of projects that haven't made it as well. I know kind of what has to happen or what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like when companies are well on their way. And to your point about checking all the boxes on my side, as somebody who's come in here, chosen this over other opportunities to work full time on, not only does it provide those things that I just referenced as far as leadership with Jerry as the CEO and, Tatum CMO and the senior ambassadors and the network that they bring and the passion that's brought there, but there's a desire for myself to be part of something bigger and to be part of this aspect of giving first that Jerry preaches on and just really harps on. It's like, this is a give first mentality. And he had this concept and it was given to him when he says it was ordained to him, by God to build this concept and this company and this way of these things resonate with me. So on top of all of these things, the business model and the business plan and the ability for what is going to transpire over the next year and a half, 18 months or so, I think it's really going to be exciting for people. And so again, I'm being careful on how I answer that too. So remember,
I love your transparency and your honesty, but it carries more weight because you come from the crypto space for 10 years. You've had great success, in it, and now you have a bunch of opportunities. You've spoken to a lot of different communities in the crypto space, and yet you choose something like PHILcoin. It speaks volume of the vision. It speaks volume of the opportunity that it has and the vision that it has. And yes. I concur with you on the vision. Explain why PHILcoin or philanthropy. How does this cryptocurrency give back? Why is this something that's a passion for Jerry that came from God? How are we helping people by being a part of PHILcoin?
Sure. Yeah. This discussion could go on forever. So I'm going to really try to break this down, make it easy, just to understand just the core principles of what PHILcoin is offering in the act of philanthropy, right? You're kind of, especially on the internet, you're not really provided a lot of different ways to interact with people or to help people. You have the traditional, hey, I know this person, he needs $100. I'm going to contribute. You have churches and you have, philanthropic, organizations that go out like the Red Cross and they go and provide services or provide, care to some degree. Natural disaster happens, you have on another side, you have government concepts that, I guess Red Cross kind of blends into that too, where, you have the ability to go and give to this organization that is either secured by the government or insured by somebody, a corporation to some degree, like I said, kind of similar to like the Red Cross. But what you don't have is anything outside of like a GoFundMe account that you can contribute to and through a process. Of course, you're going to get those funds, the person who's receiving them, but everybody is it can be difficult for that person to maybe receive. Maybe they don't have the ability. What if they're in, equatorial, Africa or in South America, and they don't have access to the internet the way that Americans do? Well, think about PHILcoin is Jerry had this vision to peer-to-peer offer philanthropic opportunities and not only set up that infrastructure to give, but there's a business model around that includes the ability to give people internet for the first time or to give people the ability to communicate through these telco towers and stuff. And I don't know how much I can say about all that stuff right now, just because again, it's part of the business plan that's probably going to be released and people are going to hear about very soon. But I know Jerry has spoken on these things before. And so I feel comfortable at least acknowledging that for the time being. But to even drive my point home even harder here is that, in this day and age of the internet, and to be able to find purpose or to find reasons to give or to discover people who need help. Maybe you are somebody who's on your heart right now, Andy, you want to find a way to give back to either children or a school or a hospital. It can be a little bit, misleading on the internet. And we're providing that philanthropic crypto blockchain transparency that allows these projects to come and get certified or to come get verified through us. And you can now donate to them and they get it directly. It's directly to them. It's wallet to wallet. There's no intermediary. There's no extra fee. There's no taxes. It's all the process. And then we're going to be working with these entities that receive, or maybe these bigger countries or these communities that need this help, that need this building built. And we're going to be providing an economic solution for them to be able to utilize PHILcoin within their current economy through some of those communication efforts I just spoke about too. Again, this can probably go on for hours and hours. So I've got to condense it there, but hopefully that was a decent and reasonable explanation of how this is all kind of tying in.
There's so many different ways that PHILcoin, I believe, is going to be able to give back, both from how we grow as a community economically and vision-wise, and as well just through the different platforms that, you're not even discussing all of them. There's There's the way to have Phil Social.
Yes,
There's a video game that is all in the
absolutely.
works. There's so many different ways where Philcoin, the value of it can grow through communication, relation, and that's one of the things that I love as a
Yeah,
man of faith. One of the things that have encouraged me a lot is seeing the inner workings of men and women of faith that love God, have principles and values that are biblical. That encourages me to know the leadership in this company, this Philcoin community, is heading in a direction that can really to the moon, make a big
absolutely.
difference.
Yeah, and I was very vague in the communication and concept when I was talking about that. And Phil Social is really the heart and soul of what Philcoin is about. At the end of the day, all of this stuff is going to happen on that app. All of this is going to be transpiring on that app. And again, I'm careful on what I'm saying because I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I know a lot more than I can put out there, or
Let me
maybe
say it like this.
okay, go ahead. You can
Phil,
probably say what you know. I got to be careful though.
let me say it like this. Philcoin, is not just a cryptocurrency space that you're going to invest money into. The aspect of community and social, literally, we're going to be able to transact through having this app that is already available. The
Yep.
app is, and the Phil Social, like the way that there is a Facebook, the way there's an Instagram, we're going to be able to chat and communicate. And as we're chatting and communicating, whether it's a call, a video chat, whatever, we're actually transacting, and the value is increasing on our coin. The Phil coin is actually growing through community, which is biblical. It's about the community. In the Book of Acts, they lacked nothing because they shared amongst each other, and in that sharing space of Phil coin social, Phil whatever it is has to do with gaming and different things that are coming. And like he says, he can't talk about all those details. This is a beautiful project. I love
Yep.
the potential that it has, and I'm truly excited and grateful to be a part of this team.
I got to go and watch Jerry speak over the weekend, and man, he's one of the most incredible speakers. Like he just grabs you in. Like you can just tell the pain, the hard work, the effort, the joy that goes into that man that he's experienced all of those major things that give him the perspective to build something along the lines of what Phil Coyne and the ambitiousness. I mean, you got to almost be crazy to think that you could do this. And then you got Jerry, who's crazy, who did this. And he made a comment about, and I wish I could say the exact, statement is that, crazy people have crazy ideas, which
Mm,
people look at and they say it's crazy until their input, and these crazy ideas and these crazy people then become, the leaders and the thought leaders and the geniuses of the past, whether you're Thomas Edison doing the light bulb or Nikola Tesla or whoever, Elon Musk for that matter. These people, when I heard about Elon Musk doing Tesla cars, electric cars, I'm like, how the heck do you even get like charged up? What if you get stranded on the side of the road? It's like you can just put some gas
right,
in. He figured
right,
it out, right? And
correct,
I think about go back to the days of before vehicles were a common thing, before anybody had one, let alone rich people. But
right,
when Henry Ford decided, I'm going to build a vehicle, a car, a horseless carriage, and it's going to be able to drive around and get from place to place without the need of a horse or any other manpower. There is so much. How the heck could that happen? There's no roads. There's no
right.
concrete. Like there's no street lights. There's no
Good,
stop signs. The vision to have that in place, like to know that you have to make this infrastructure alongside of it. You have the
right.
idea, you build the idea, you create the infrastructure as people
And it
start
takes
adopting it.
time.
People who are visionaries, they can see it. People who are risk takers, they'll take a chance on it. But
Correct,
eventually, everybody's going to be operating under some circumstance on the blockchain, whether they know it or not. And
correct.
Jerry has taken these steps early on to put himself in a position to be the Henry Ford. He's building this, and there aren't a lot of roads right now. There's not a lot of concrete. There's a lot of skepticism and people hating on him. Why would I need this? I mean, like I can just use my horse. This is more effort than it needed to be for me to make sense of this. Until now, look, 100 years later, every single person on the planet, is utilizing some sort of vehicle to some degree, right? Even if
Correct,
even if they don't own one and they're in a third world country, how did it get there, right?
correct.
What was the transportation like? Why did somebody? You get the point here. 99% of people are affected by this invention, and that's blockchain, and specifically what we feel Philcoin is going to be for a lot of people as well.
I would love to close with this. Tomorrow, those that are at the summit are going to be getting so much more value and knowledge. And if you guys like this and want more of this, please feel free to share in the different spaces and also ask questions. What are topics you would like for Phil Coin to talk about? And what are some things that you need answers to? Because we want to add value to your life and to your knowledge in this space. And tomorrow here in Atlanta, it's one of the opportunities. And we're going to have Joe Blackburn come for another conference as well, because there's so much to talk about. And I want you to hear, there's a Bible scripture. If you're a person of faith, or whether you believe God or not, this is something that I believe we can all agree. The times are shifting, times are changing, and we need to be able to adapt to the times that we're living in. And, there's a scripture in the Bible in Haggai 2:8, it says, "The silver is mine and the gold is mine, and the glory of the latter house will be greater than the former. And in this place, I will give peace." And this is a powerful thing for me, because it speaks how first the gold belongs to God, and what is the currency, what is wealth, and secondly, how the glory or the move of God, his movement, where his spirit is moving to, follows after. So in other words, I see it as every time there is a movement on the earth, a shift, wherever God is moving towards, the financial aspect will follow, the silver and the gold, the provision, God's response for the needs of communities. And so right now, there has been a shift in the global scale in the last 10 or more years, where we have shifted from just gold and silver or cash or whatever, United States dollar, to now a crypto space. And it's whether you like it or not, as Joe was saying, this is going to continue to evolve, to grow, to increase. The book of Daniel talks about the end times being an increase of knowledge and being able to travel to and from. In other words, there would be an increase of knowledge, of information, and there would be an acceleration to travel. We'll add there an acceleration to income, to currency. Currency, it travels, it moves. And right now, the times have shifted, and we need to get into alignment to what's going on, both, from a biblical standpoint or an economics person. That's just, common sense. We need to adapt to the times that we're in. So I just want to encourage you guys, those of you that are watching this, whether now or in the future, to join some of these financial summits, to ask questions, and, feel free to have a hunger to learn and grow, because at the end of the day, that's what this is about.
Well said, Andy. That was beautiful. And of course, while I definitely agree with you, I mean, there's so much to be taken from that. And before we hop off, if anybody's listened to this prior to the conference, where can they go to find out more information? Obviously, we're going to be doing this in the future more too, and I can't wait to be part of that. But for this weekend on it starts Friday, July 14th in the evening, it's first day, and then it carries into Saturday. How can they find out more information?
Well, if they go to Instagram, it's probably the easiest way here verbally. They can go to supernatural culture _. That's supernatural culture _. And in that bio, there's a link that can lead them to the website that has the key information as to what the topics that we're going to be talking about. The guest speaker, Dr. Israel Pena and Delamar Pena, my wife and I. And there they can click on being able to register an Eventbrite. It's totally free registration. It's just for us to be able to know you're coming, and for us to be able to invite you to future events for free. So supernatural culture _ on Instagram or on Facebook. And then you can go to those links that will lead to these Eventbrite.
Absolutely. And don't forget, folks, it's free. This is being done out of the, truly the goodness of Andy's heart and Dr. Pena and the people that surround these two great men. I can't say enough for how much I appreciate, Andy, our interactions, our friendship, our professional relationship. You're an absolute gem, dude. God's blessing you, and I know it. And this project is grateful. I know Jerry is for sure. But most importantly, there is so much more coming, and we can't even begin to understand, what that is. I mean, it truly is a wild, open wilderness out there that somebody has to cultivate and put together. And I know PHILcoin is at the forefront of that. I get to watch it every day firsthand. I'm so privileged, and to follow Jerry in this, and people like yourself and Dr. Pena and so many others who have taken part in this. It's so exciting to be part of PHILcoin, but it's not even close to being presented the way that it's going to be.
Yep.
It is enormous, and the vision is enormous, and it's coming. It's a freight train.
And I would love to say, finally, if there's anyone watching this that you would love to put together a financial summit in your city, whether it's a church, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a business leader, whether it's a mom or a father that just wants to gather family and friends, we're willing to go to where you're at and put together these financial summits that can help empower your family, your kids, and even your communities.
Wow, that's huge. All right, well, look, Andy, we'll do this again soon. I can't wait to be at your next one. I hate that I've already had plans where I'm not able to make this financial summit. You already know I'm so close to you. So in person, I can't wait to hug you and be part of these next ones in the future. But thank you everybody for watching today. If you have any questions, again, you can find us, check us out on social media, go to philcoin.io. That's our website. It's beautiful. We just redid it. If you have anything that you want to ask, or if you want to get a hold of any of us, just find us there on any of our community chats too. Somebody will point you in the right direction. Till next time, everybody on PHILcast, we'll see you soon. God bless.